Good filmmaking is the art of manipulating and tricking the audience. That's one of the keys to great Hollywood cinema, its ability to hijack viewers' mood and pull them right into the story's world. It's often like this with movie endings as well. If a picture uses cinematic techniques to successfully create a happy atmosphere, then viewers are likely to walk away thinking that they've witnessed a happy ending. It might only be later that they reflect further, that they realize, actually, it wasn't. So let's check some out. I'm Adam, this is Whatculture, and here are some so-called happy endings that absolutely aren't. Thunderbolts. By the standards of post-Endgame MCU, Thunderbolts felt like a breath of fresh air. It ended up being a fun time with a refreshing undercurrent of darkness layered in, most notably through its touching explorations of mental health, and also a more cynical ending than normal for the MCU. Throughout the movie, the titular team has been trying to survive the various efforts of Valentina de Fontaine to kill them, and they've come into conflict with Bob, a young man who was experimented on by de Fontaine. She was trying to turn him into a new superhero, but only damaged him further and nearly destroyed New York by mistake. Once the Thunderbolts help Bob regain control of his powers, they chase after de Fontaine, only to suddenly emerge on a stage where she's holding an impromptu press conference. She introduces them as the New Avengers and takes credit for building the team and stopping Bob. Though the film plays this ending in a somewhat optimistic light, with Yelena telling de Fontaine, "We own you now," it's actually a bit of a downer ending in all honesty. It's great that most of the characters made it through, but despite Yelena's words, de Fontaine is the one who's in charge of them, not the other way around. And she's also got away with all of her appalling crimes. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now with this one, the clue is in the music. When watching The Phantom Menace, the ending is heartwarming on the surface. Naboo has been freed from the Trade Federation, the humans and Gungans have formed a new friendship, and a more competent man has just become Supreme Chancellor. The joyful tone is complemented by John Williams' exuberant score, but again, there's a hidden detail in there. The score is actually the Emperor's theme from the original trilogy, just in a different key. That symbolizes what's really going on here. The freedom of Naboo is merely a temporary victory, as the real villain, new Chancellor Palpatine, has just taken control of the Republic and is sowing the seeds of the downfall of the democracy and the Jedi Order. Another great, neat little detail is Qui-Gon Jinn's funeral scene, when Yoda and Mace Windu acknowledge that Qui-Gon Jinn was killed by a Sith Lord, and remember that there are always two, a master and an apprentice. The camera slowly pans to Palpatine. Very clever, George Lucas. I see you. The Green Inferno. Eli Roth's The Green Inferno, which serves as a homage to cannibal horror films such as Cannibal Holocaust, is one of those horror movies that's arguably a bit too cruel for its own good. Though well made and well acted up to a point, it often feels overly sadistic, and the way it treats its ending as happy really leaves a bad taste behind. In the end, protagonist Justine does manage to escape the murderous tribe of cannibals who kill almost all of the other eco-activists she was traveling with, but instead of warning other people about how dangerous the tribe is, she lies and says that they were peaceful and benevolent. What? It seems she was doing this to protect the tribe from outsider aggressors, the same tribe who killed her companions and tried to mutilate her. And that was, well, it was certainly a choice. And thanks to that choice, someone else might have approached them and lost their life as a result. Furthermore, a post-credit scene reveals that lead activist Alejandro, who is by far the most loathsome of the main group, has survived and is now a member of the tribe. Roth brutally killed off all the other characters but deprived viewers of any catharsis by denying them the one death they actually wanted to see. A follow-up was planned, but it never materialized. Oh well, The Green Inferno isn't exactly one of Roth's best anyway. Old. M. Night Shyamalan's horror thriller Old focuses on a group of tourists who go onto a mysterious beach that causes them to begin rapidly aging. In the end, only Trent and Maddox, who went onto the beach at the age of 6 and 11 respectively, are left alive. They have now aged to adults in their 40s and 50s. Alright, now this particular ending is definitely one of the most unsettling endings in any recent film. It turns out that the beach is a way for a pharmaceutical organization to monitor the effects of various medicines and witness years of progress in the space of a day or two. I mean, at the end of the day, they're children stuck in adults' bodies who have lost decades of their lives, and there doesn't seem to be any way to reverse the process. They really were dealt an awful hand here. Peter Pan, any version. The story of Peter Pan takes on new meanings as you get older.
It stops becoming just an exciting adventure story and becomes something much more sobering as the full tragedy of Peter Pan's situation hits home. He's going to be alone, unable to move on, and to get over his fear of growing up.
Well, actually he does manage in 1990's Hook, but that's the sole exception.
In every other version, the Darling children are safely returned home to London, but Peter Pan is left back in Neverland. It's arguable that Wendy Darling is the real protagonist of this story, while Peter functions more as a cautionary tale of what happens when you cannot leave childhood behind. It's significant that the original source material is called Peter Pan and Wendy, rather than just Peter Pan.
Also, Peter Pan is a massive jerk. That's another interesting thing you'll notice as you get older. The most recent movie adaptation of Peter Pan was 2023's Peter Pan and Wendy, released on Disney+, and while that movie isn't particularly great on the whole, it does at least do more to acknowledge just what a sad figure Peter Pan actually is, and it deserved kudos for that. This was in stark contrast to the 1953 Disney animation which, while a lovely film, didn't do much to explore the darkness of J.M. Barrie's original novel and ends on a cheery note. Kingsman: The Secret Service. Kingsman: The Secret Service is a great movie, but its ending is one of those that gets worse and worse the more you think about it. In this stylish spy comedy, main antagonist Richmond Valentine plans to activate a signal that will turn most of humanity, the exception being his allies who have safeguard chips installed,
into violent savages, and make them kill each other.
This is his twisted solution to overpopulation and climate change. Luckily, Valentine's signal is only active briefly, but many will have even killed their own family members.
The mother of protagonist Eggsy nearly kills her young daughter when affected by the signal, and only doesn't thanks to Eggsy warning her to lock her daughter in another room.
Additionally, all of Valentine's allies are killed when their chips are exploded. Now, this appears to include leaders all over the world, so wouldn't the entire geopolitical system have been destabilized? The consequences of this are quite a lot to think about, which is probably why writer-director Matthew Vaughn and his team chose not to address the fallout in the movie's disappointing 2017 sequel, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Alright, so Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wasn't the best, but at the very least it gave Indiana Jones a happy ending. He marries Marion Ravenwood, connects with the son he didn't know he had. It would have been better to leave the story there, but alas, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny cruelly undid this. To kick things off at the start of Dial of Destiny, Indy's son died in Vietnam, he and Marion are separated, and Indy is now a miserable alcoholic. He spends the majority of his adventure in a depressed state and playing second fiddle to his goddaughter, Helena Shaw. During the film's finale, in which the characters travel back in time to ancient Rome, yes, you did hear that right, Indy actually asks to be left behind in the past to die, and only returns to the present because Helena knocks him out and takes him back while unconscious. The closing scenes, in which Indy and Marion randomly reconcile, have a happy tone of sorts, and this felt grossly insulting. So Indy hasn't dealt with any of his issues and basically tried to kill himself, but this is completely glossed over. And I'll admit, hearing the Raiders march during the end credits provoked an inevitable rush of joyous nostalgia, and even that couldn't wash away the horrible aftertaste this ending left behind.
Let the Right One In / Let Me In. Let the Right One In is a horror masterpiece that tells the strange, captivating tale of a romance between Oscar and Ely. He's a viciously bullied schoolboy, she's a vampire who looks like a 12-year-old girl. The counterparts in the surprisingly great American remake are played by Cody Smith-McPhee and Chloe Grace Moretz.
Let the Right One In is one hell of a journey that goes to many weird places and blends different moods.
Its ending very much plays into that.
It looks like a happy ending at first, but it's more complicated than that. In the end, Ely kills Oscar's bullies when they try to drown him, and Oscar sets to act as Ely's new caretaker, as her previous caretaker died earlier in the film.
Well, it's nice that this pair can be together and Oscar's life was saved, but at the end of the day, he's going to age while Ely remains a child. Also, looking after her will likely mean he has to become a serial killer in order to get blood for her. This was what her previous caretaker was doing.
Let Me In explores the tragic caretaker character further and also casts the great Richard Jenkins as him, so this ending perhaps feels even more bittersweet in that version. Having said that, this is a complicated ending whichever version you see, and it's not the straightforward romantic finish you might initially think it is. Kick-Ass 2. Kick-Ass 2 isn't as bad as you remember, but its ending was a shocker. So at the end of Kick-Ass 2, Kick-Ass/Dave and Hit-Girl/Mindy have defeated lead antagonist, the Mother Effer. Dave's team Justice Forever are taking a break, but doing heroics in their everyday life. Mindy leaves New York in order to protect her guardian, and Dave continues to be kick-ass, training with more advanced equipment. Both Dave and Mindy totally failed to move forward in everyday life without their superhero personas, especially Mindy, and both are still stuck in dangerous lives without growing as people. Furthermore, the two nicest characters in the series are done so dirty.
Mindy's guardian not only has to deal with his adoptive daughter abandoning him to live a dangerous life alone, but he might be sent to prison because she used his gun to kill people.
And worse still, Dave's dad is murdered, and not only does Dave refuse to give up being kick-ass as he promised his father, but he ends the film just being friends with the guy who sold his father out to the Mother Effer and co. Over 10 years later, Kick-Ass 3 hasn't materialized, and while that's disappointing, the first movie is a masterpiece after all. It's not exactly surprising. I mean, how do you follow up that ending? But I will say, check out Kick-Ass 3 graphic novel, it's actually really cool. 2012. Alright, so Ronald Emmerich's not that bad. 2012 is notable for it being the most disaster movie to ever disaster, given that it features what is probably the most epic apocalypse ever committed to film. It also had one of the least happy endings of them all. The ending scenes do have a refreshingly hopeful tone that might fool viewers at first. Protagonist Jackson Curtis, his family, and several of the film's other characters have survived by getting on board one of the various arcs
constructed by the world's governments in order to survive the cataclysm. The 3 arcs that were completed are shown traveling together, and around 400,000 people are on board in total.
Well, it's a miracle anyone made it at all, but that's still a majority of humankind dead. Furthermore, the arcs weren't done in a fair way. Transport was only offered to the world's elite, also the Chinese workforce that helped to build them. Africa is the one continent that wasn't submerged, so it's possible some people survived there. But most of the human race is gone, whichever way you cut it, and that's pretty bloody depressing. Furthermore, the many disasters that happen throughout the picture will continue to affect the Earth for years to come, such as the ash clouds from the supervolcano that erupts in Yellowstone. Really, the happiest thing that one can take from this ending is that 2012 was lambasted for its factual inaccuracies, and a disaster of this kind is scientifically impossible. At least, that's what I keep telling myself anyway.